Good evening and welcome to Security Update. I am Rimamnde Shawulu. Tonight we examine another tragic episode of violence in Niger State, one that has left communities grieving, families displaced, and authorities racing to prevent further bloodshed. Within just a few days, violence spread across parts of Rafi Local Government Area, particularly around Tegina, Tashar Baku, and later Kagara, the local government headquarters. Officially, police confirmed 18 deaths. However, community leaders and several media organizations reported higher and very significantly higher casualty figures, highlighting the difficulty of establishing precise numbers while the crisis was still unfolding. Beyond the statistics are real people, families who have lost homes reduced to ashes, and communities living in fear, people living in bushes and running for safety. In an area that has been ravaged by Boko Haram, the Lakurawas, and other violent non-state actors. Tonight, we reconstruct what happened, hear from those affected, hear from commentators from the area and some leaders, as well as examine government response and ask an important question. Can lasting peace return to this part of Niger State?
An kashe man mutane, an tattara su da yara na da jikoki na da mata na da kani na da matan shi da karkarin shi ma an tattara su an kone ko mutum da ya bi hita a wurin. Mutane na mutum 42 aka kone sai da suka saya, sai da daki ya gama cin wuta sun dauko yayana da yana sai da mai, suka dauko mai suka yayyafa daki, sannan suka sa mai suka saya, sai da suka gama konewa sannan suka wuce.
The latest violence appears to have begun in late June following the killing of a Fulani community member during a dispute reportedly linked to long-standing tensions over land use and access to grazing reserves. Some commentators, however, said that the dispute may have resulted from some political agreements over politics. What followed was a cycle of reprisals. According to the Niger State Police Command, retaliatory attacks spread through several communities in Tegina district. Houses were set ablaze, residents fled, and entire settlements descended into chaos. Houses were burnt and people were killed, were lured into a peace meeting where 47 people who had gathered for the peace meeting had the doors to the meeting hall locked, and all the 47 people reportedly killed. The police said that at least 15 people were burned to death inside a residential building, while others were killed elsewhere. Residents told journalists that the number of victims was far higher. Community representatives claimed that more than 40 people had been killed, while others estimated the toll at over 50. International news agencies, including Reuters and the Associated Press, noted these higher figures but stated that they could not independently verify them. Whatever the final number, one fact remains beyond dispute. This was one of the deadliest outbreaks of community violence witnessed in this area. The attacks reportedly affected several villages around Tegina, with homes, food stores, motorcycles, and vehicles destroyed. Families fled into nearby settlements or sought refuge with relatives. Others spent nights in surrounding bushes, uncertain whether the attackers will return. As news of the violence spread, tension also reached nearby Kagara. Authorities feared retaliatory attacks and moved to increase security. Statistics often tell us the scale of a tragedy, but survivors tell us what those numbers truly mean. Residents describe scenes of panic as violence erupted. Eyewitnesses told reporters that people ran in every direction after hearing screams and seeing houses on fire. Some escaped into nearby bushes, others became separated from families in the confusion. Another resident said many people fled with nothing but the clothes they were wearing. Food, livestock, savings, and important documents were left behind. In Kagara, residents spoke of fear rather than violence itself. One resident explained that businesses closed early, streets became deserted, and families stayed indoors because no one knew whether the violence would spread further. Community leaders also expressed concern that fear itself was becoming another casualty of the conflict. Many farmers now reluctant to return to their fields despite the rainy season, a development that could affect food production and security in the months ahead. Health workers treating survivors' reported injuries ranging from burns, machete wounds to gunshot injuries. Medical staff also observed signs of psychological trauma, particularly among children who witnessed the attackers or lost close relatives. Many families' recovery will involve far more than rebuilding their homes. It will mean rebuilding their lives. Although the immediate trigger appears to be confusing, communal disputes involving farmers and herders have affected many parts of Niger State for many areas. There's competition over farmland, access to grazing routes, water resources, population growth. Some people talk about climate pressure, economic hardship, and the increasing availability of small arms have all contributed to the rising tensions. Of course, security experts say that once violence begins in such an environment, retaliation can quickly replace dialogue. One attack leads to another. Communities begin acting out of fear. Rumors spread rapidly. Trust disappears, and this creates conditions where isolated incidents evolve into wider communal conflicts. Analysts also warn that the continued presence of armed criminal groups across Niger State, as well as the jihadists such as Lakurawa and Boko Haram, has further complicated local disputes. Weapons are easier to obtain now than before. Communities are more heavily armed, and security agencies face increasingly difficult terrain when responding to emergencies. And of course, we spoke to some people and got some interviews online from people living in the area, and the views, of course, about what created these problems differ from person to person. First, we'll hear the Honorable Chika Abubakar Adamu, and then a journalist who has been covering this crisis, Mohammed, has his perspectives too.
Actually, what started was like a political sharing of money between some two tribes. I learned that whether governor gave some money and the money fall into the hand of somebody who is either a Fulani person and who has taken so much out of the money, and in retaliation, I think something happened. The boy was killed, and it's a boy to one of to the current member of the National Assembly. Now, when the other person was killed, and that was what brought about maybe suspecting that it is the Kamuku people, because there are two major tribes that probably were involved within that area on the issue of that money. Then the other group now started looking for every Fulani man everywhere. The state government did not do anything because the governor did not go, though Allah is out of the country, but this has stated that a responsible leader should come back to his state where whatever he is doing, because a whole local government is burning. Then 3, both the members of the member of National Assembly, the member of the State Assembly, the local government chairman, all of them remain adamant they have done nothing to salvage the situation. So the people are living on their own. So the society has just become like an animal farm where the strongest will eat the weakest. So this is why we find ourselves in Kagara today. But I learned yesterday the commissioner of police was there. And as I told you, this killing, it started not within the Kagara town. It started from Tashar Baku and the other villages around Tegina town. But it has translated to everywhere, even inside Kagara, even close to my house. As I learned day before yesterday, a Fulani man was also killed, was attacked and killed very close to my house inside Kagara on Mosoyi Road. So, and even somebody even called me and said, even yesterday, there were 2 Komoko people that were killed within the bush. So this is where we find ourselves. And honestly, nobody is giving us any comfort to salvage the situation as it is today.
Is this the first time this type of thing is happening in that area?
Yes. When it comes to, well, even if it has happened, maybe herders, farmers clashes, you can have it. Or small clashes, but to a very big magnitude where 2 tribes, wherever they find themselves, they will kill each other, not within the community they live. I think this is the very first time.
And if you look at also the consideration that around that your area, we've had activities of bandits and Lakurawas and so. Are these related, or they are completely different things?
This is completely different from the bandits or the Lakurawas. This is just about 2 communities that live together. but they are of different tribe, and it has no relationship with the farmer herders. As I told you, it is a political money given, and it's alleged one person has cornered so much. Unfortunately, that person that has cornered so much was found dead, and therefore they allege that it is the Kamukawa group who probably they must have been shortchanged that killed that person.
And looking forward, what do you think? Because I've had reports from some people that before this incident, the bandits had destroyed several villages and sent so many people packing. So it simply means that the problems are compounding. Is that what I understand?
Yes, the problem is a compounding. I can't go to my village. I feel very insecure to go to my village. And I cannot remember when the last time I was in my village. So that's to tell you, it is a double jeopardy. We don't know where this things will go, because there is a likelihood any of the group can decide to act same way as bandit, as people are crossing within the area and they will tell you to come out of your car and then see if there is one of their target. And nobody, that's to tell you, we have double jeopardy. We have that of the bandit and we have this of the communal crisis. In fact, including our emir, he is not even in the village. We have an emir who is not also staying in the place. So this is why we find out that the emir is not even there for him to even call for a meeting.
A lot of negative things happened in my area. There is a communal clash between the Fulanis and Kamuku people, who were residing for more than 100 years in existence. But the major problem, the genesis of this crisis, is that some of these Fulanis were driven from Peri exits, Kagara exits, and they felt there's nowhere they can go than to go back to their former place. That is within that Tegina exists. Going there, the people who reside there, who are Kamuku, they didn't accommodate them, so they felt something, and they want to take back their farms. That is the genesis of this clashes. So because of the farmlands, that is what brought this crisis. The Fulanis, they slaughtered people. They slaughtered a lot of Kamukus. A lot of people who are there, they slaughtered them like rams. What is actually happening is disaster. Very bad indeed. You will discover that the Kamukus whom they are attacking, they equally have to attack, because majority of them they are vigilantes, so they have guns. And the Fulanis, they don't have the guns. So instead of that, they continue burning their houses, killing them. And the worst thing is that prior to this time, as a journalist, I gave a prior notice that Tegina is bleeding, which I called on the government, the federal, states, the local government, that they should intervene, they should do something to avoid this crisis, because we know what it is. Since when they slaughtered our 10 people. That is when I raised that case. I said, please, this is what Tegina is bleeding. Let's do something about that. And nothing, instead of the government to be proactive, to take measures, they refuse. Now the thing have escalated. It has escalated. If you see people, most of the villages there around that area, they fled to bush, hills, they are including their children. And the Fulanis burnt all the villages around that area, around Tegina exits, Gimi, Tashar Baku, all these areas, and Rimamnde Shawulu, that is the recent one, which it happened yesterday. They slaughtered 2 people, just like ram. In an attempt, the Kamukus, they saw just one Rimamnde, they tried to fire him.
Okay.
The villages include Gimi, Tashar Baku, Tashar Baku, all these villages put ablaze.
And actually, this thing started when?
Yes. Most of those villages, they are now migrating back to Kagara. There's no provision of IDP or whatever. Nothing is like in fact, I've never seen it in my life, in the absence of government. Government was completely absent, because I thought government would be there to even say, no, don't worry, we are doing this, nothing like that. So that is why the thing is escalating, and it will continue, because even yesterday it happens, and we don't know what will happen today and tomorrow. But the only thing we are trying to find out.
Before now, we're hearing stories about bandits in those areas. Do you have problems with these bandits there, or is just the problem between Fulani and the Kamuku?
That is one of the major problems of Kagara Emirate, this banditry attack. Prior to this time, since when the banditry activities did not even become worst. So, but in Kagara Emirate, we have been, if you go to Madaka is zero. People dribble there, they were dribbled, and people don't reside again because of the banditry attack. They made it their zone, so comfort zone. So from Madaka, you cannot move to anywhere. In fact, it was terrible. When the serious government took step, now it's a history in Madaka. It's minimal. The banditry attack is minimal. Then they swapped towards Kundu, and that is the same in Rafi Local Government. They swapped towards Kundu, Singiri exists, then down to Pangu Gari and other things. They were terrorizing the Pangus and other things. I think they took measures of their own. It minimized. Now they swapped back to Kagara, the district. Prior to taking that district, Kusherki, they tested the bitter part of it. That is the other exit towards Kaduna. It was even worse. But the issue of banditry for now in Kagara Emirate is minimal. The major problem now is this tribal communal clashes, which is consuming a lot of lives.
Okay, and so it's your finding that banditry activities have reduced in Kagara in particular. How about their surrounding local governments like Rafi and or do they still have the problems of banditry? And before the Fulani came, did you have experience with fighting with that area with the bandits, or the bandits avoided that area?
No, I think it's because of the pressure from either the government, maybe that is why they swap to another place. You know, the way they operate. So if they are terrorized from the other end, then they move to another end. So for now, Kagara Emirate were a little bit relieved with banditry activities, and cattle rustling is minimized. But the new style now is this communal clashes. Prior to this time, you discover that the banditry was overtook the whole thing. I made some little reports about how the bandits how the bandits were disturbed, how the bandits were disturbing people of particularly Uregi exists, where they cried. They had been dealing with them times without number. They cried out. At the end of it, the bandits, when they complained seriously, the next thing they said, they are going to address the vigilantes. They are going to address the issue within them. So they continue fighting the bandits. The next thing is that they said they will send in an aeroplane to come and intervene. The aeroplane, instead of killing the bandits, the aeroplane end up killing the vigilantes. And no intervention, nothing since then. That is within Ushama and Uregi exists. About just 2-3 weeks before that, before the communal clashes.
Thank you very much for giving us the opportunity
I appreciate
and opening our eyes on what is happening in Niger State. Thank you, Mohammed.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your presence and intervention. It's only God that will reward with this humanitarian service you are doing.
Thank you very much. As reports of killings and displacement spread, attention quickly turned to the response of the Niger State government and the country's security agencies. The Niger State Police Command confirmed that additional personnel had been deployed to restore order in the affected communities. Joint patrols involving the police and the army were intensified across parts of Rafi Local Government Area. The Deputy Governor's visit was intended to demonstrate government's presence, listening directly to affected communities, and coordinate the state's response. During the visit, the Deputy Governor met with traditional rulers, community representatives, security commanders, and local government officials. He also visited locations where displaced residents had sought temporary shelter and received briefings on the humanitarian situation. And government officials also announced the establishment of a Peace and Reconciliation Committee, working with the Emir of Kagara and other traditional rulers to encourage dialogue between the affected communities and reduce the risk of renewed violence.
We have picked from the Kamuko side some of their grievances and from the Fulani side. Most importantly, it is an issue of security matters, which we cannot discuss in the media. But however, mainly now what is our concern now is ceasefire, and then we'll see how we can at least ameliorate the suffering of those that have been displaced from their residence.
Security analysts said that this crisis should not be viewed as an isolated incident. Instead, they argued that it reflects broader security challenges facing parts of Nigeria's north central, including Niger State, which has witnessed several attacks by bandits, kidnappers, and also elements of the JNIM which has been working on setting up a corridor that stretches from Niger State to Kwara State and to Oyo State. For years, Niger State has experienced multiple threats from armed bandits, kidnapping, to communal disputes and competition over land and natural resources. Experts warn that where these challenges overlap, relatively small disputes can rapidly escalate into large-scale violence. Conflict resolution specialists also point to the importance of early intervention. When local grievances are left unresolved, they say communities often resort to retaliation rather than legal processes. The cycle of revenge continues long after the original dispute has been forgotten. Humanitarian experts are equally concerned. Beyond the immediate loss of life, violence disrupts farming, trade, education, and healthcare. Families lose their livelihoods, children miss schools, communities become divided, and rebuilding trust can take years. Many observers therefore argue that restoring peace will require more than military deployments. It will also require justice, dialogue, compensation where appropriate, and sustained engagement with all communities. The violence in Tegina and Kagara matters not only because of the lives lost, but because of what it could mean for wider regional affairs. Rafi Local Government occupies an important position within Niger State. Its road networks connect several communities and support trade, farming, and movement between parts of the state. Persistent insecurity could discourage farming during the current rainy season, food production, and deepen economic hardship for already vulnerable communities. There is also the concern that prolonged communal tensions could create opportunities for criminal groups to exploit local divisions. While official investigations continue and casualty figures are still being reconciled, the suffering experienced by affected families is beyond dispute. The deployment of additional security personnel, the Deputy Governor's visit, curfew, and the establishment of a peace and reconciliation committee are important first steps. But lasting peace will depend on more than emergency measures. It will require impartial investigations, accountability for those responsible, sustained dialogue between the communities, and long-term efforts to address the underlying causes of the conflict. The coming weeks will be critical. They will show whether the current interventions succeed in preventing another cycle of violence or whether deeper reforms will be needed to secure lasting peace in Rafi Local Government Area. For the families who have lost loved ones, the hope is simple, that this tragedy will not be repeated. Thank you for watching our security update. My name is Rimamnde Shawulu.